So last episode, we touched on dynamic toe control. And after that, I've been thinking a lot of it. So I started to search the video or some photos from Instagram. And I found one of the video from Formula drifter Chris Forsberg in 2019.
Okay.
There's a image got my attention because I've seen toe out setting on his car. And I remember you told me if it's a high horsepower car, people usually love to run toe in setup for better traction.
Sure, static toe in and also adding dynamic toe in.
Yes, yes.
What makes you think that Chris is running toe out?
Of course, I asked you before, and you mentioned when the people start to lower the car, then that is the moment toe change.
Yes. So you looked at the S chassis diagram that's posted on Instagram at hashtag RKNUCLB, and you saw a colorful diagram.
Yes.
And that diagram had the S chassis dynamic toe plate holes, and then it shows you what each and every hole does from zero toe change to toe in on compression to toe out. Then you looked at Chris Forsberg's car, and it seemed like it was in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
When we developed the dynamic toe control, we had observed on the S chassis, that particular car with an OEM knuckle, it has toe out on compression. So we developed it first for S chassis because we wanted to fix that flaw. That's why we developed a series of pickup points on the knuckle side in those plates to allow you to either do zero toe change on compression or even toe in so that you can add a lot of horsepower to that car. And you found a photo where it was kind of on the opposite side of the plate. This is probably just due to the fact that the Formula D cars are really high. So if you slam the car, the inboard joint goes down. Kind of like the wheel is always on the ground, and we're like viewing it from the back bumper, right?
Yeah.
Then you slam the car, then the inboard joint goes down. So maybe if you lowered the car to like a impossibly low ride height, then the inboard joints and the subframe that they're attached to would be kind of like scraping the ground, right?
Yep.
Okay, the outboard joint is high. So a vertical line running through the inboard and outboard joint. Basically, any arm angle that is not horizontal, that's going to make those two vertical lines closer together.
Right.
As if the arm was shorter.
Yeah.
So when the arm's at that angle, it's kind of pulling the wheel in closer to the center line of the car. So if the tow rod is mounted on the back side of the knuckle and the car is slammed, so the inboard joint is down, that means the outboard joint is going to pull the wheel, which causes the front of the wheel to go toe out.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Take that as observing toe out on compression.
Right.
To fix that, we're going to want to level that tow rod out horizontally.
Yes. Yeah.
So now if we have a vertical line on the inboard and the outboard joints, now they're farther apart.
Right.
So what we've done by leveling out that tow rod on the array of holes on the dynamic toe control plate actually like made that wheel that was being pulled in on its backside. Remember, we're viewing from the back bumper.
Yeah.
And the front side of the wheel is out. So toe out, that's what we call toe out. We drop that outboard link point on those plates to make the arm totally horizontal. Then the wheel will straighten back out.
Okay, then I have a very silly question. After I install the knuckle, what is a stat toe?
Oh, static toe setting is just the length that you set on the arm itself.
Yeah.
And static usually means that the suspension hasn't gone through any travel. So if we say static ride height, it just means the car is like parked.
On the ground,
And it's
right?
not experiencing any bumps.
Yeah, I know.
Or
Everyone knows the OEM setting first. They know how to do it.
if we set up a drift car, we want to set it up with zero toe so that it's like in the neutral position.
Yeah.
And if we feel like we need more traction, then we'll do some static toe in.
Towing, yeah.
If we want that dynamic setting where it's gripping even more when you're on the gas and the rear end squats down, then we'll add some dynamic toe
extra
in.
towing. When I got the car, I checked the OEM, like a toe setting. I found, it's toe out.
Static toe out. First setting, you'll want to zero it.
And I check the dynamic compression.
If you just want to see what your car is doing, take the car to the track without changing any settings and kind of learn its character. If the car has a tendency to spin, like the rear end wants to come around and you don't like it, you put toe plates on there and you see that the car has toe out, that might be the cause of the rear end wanting to come around too quickly. Try zero toe or even toe in to try to give the rear end more predictability or more grip. But if you want to see the car's character and kind of get to know how the car is, before we made our first dynamic toe control knuckle for the S chassis, popped off the coilover, lower mount. You can also pop off the spring.
And then use eyeball to check.
In a McPherson front suspension, if you're checking the bump steer, you need to pop off the spring because the shock shaft is actually connected to the upper suspension ball joint, right?
Yeah, right.
Or spherical
The upper,
bearing.
Yeah. And for
Double wishbone front, all the suspension geometry is there, even if the whole coilover is out. In double wishbone, so you have the option of just popping off the bottom bolt. Same thing with like a five-link rear suspension. All the geometry is there, even if the entire coilover is out.
Okay.
So if you find it faster just to like check things out by popping out the lower bolt for the coilover, then you can. But no matter what the suspension is, what style the suspension is, it's always best to take out the spring and leave the rest of the coilover in there because one thing that you might want to do when you're just kind of like learning what the suspension character is, watching for bump steer in the front or toe change in the back through travel, is if the shock is in there and you're running it through travel, you have an opportunity to observe if your shock shaft bump stops are actually contacting before the wheel contacts something in the wheel well and then binds up and that's causing you to spin. So taking the spring out is the best so that you can check if your suspension is changing through travel and also if your bump stops are set properly. So we could save that bump stop thing for a different conversation, but in short, we would either stack up more bump stops if they're not making contact before the tire, or we might add a helper spring so that the car sits halfway through its travel, and then it's that much closer to a single shock shaft bump stop upon compression. It'll actually touch off. Now, circling back to the dynamic toe. So we've got the spring out of the car on the S chassis. We just put the jack under the rear lower control arm, jack it up, watch what the tire's doing. We're at the rear bumper, and we're just sight lining down the inside of the rim lip. Right? Because we're operating the jack, we're on the inside, we're looking forward. Our eyeball is completely parallel to that rim lip. Jack it up, it's going to be slow, right? You might not notice anything at first. But if you quickly release the jack, then you'll get full travel view. You're either going to see that rim lip go up and down, and it'll just stay parallel to your view. Or if it's toe in on compression, then you'll see more of the wheel barrel in the front. And if it's toe out on compression, then you'll see more tire blocking your view of that inner wheel barrel.
Right.
If you have a means to adjust this and you want to start at a totally neutral setting, then you'll start leveling out the toe arm,
Okay.
the toe rod, somewhere near horizontal through most of the suspension travel that is around static ride height. If it's, just below at horizontal or just above horizontal through its suspension travel,
Right.
then you're going to have the least amount of alignment change.
Oh, so that is the range.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when you talk to me all of this, you mentioned about the bump steer. Can we say like if the arms like a horizontal,
Yes.
more than the bump steer is kind of like a being avoid in that position, but if it's
Yeah.
like a upper or down, then it's the moment.
Right. So what happens is we lower the car,
Yeah.
and then now the tie rod in the front is pointing up towards the outside,
Right.
and it's kind of like down towards the inside.
Yeah.
When we lower the car, usually to correct bump steer, we're going to lower the outboard joint. So that has a vertical taper pin,
Right.
and most of our applications come with like different size washers.
Yes.
Some of them even like small, medium, and large.
Yes.
And
yes.
you can stack them in there, or you can take them out as needed to level out that tie rod. So when you lower the car, you're typically going to lower the outboard joint, so that you have no bump steer.
Okay, so while we have that, spacers can adjust the bump steer. How about, because they connect to the knuckle, and we have correct roll center knuckle, which is we call it like a drop knuckle.
Yeah, so the roll center or drop knuckle, remember when we're thinking about suspension, we just want to like think about the wheel and tire on the ground. The hub is in the middle of that,
Yeah.
and all the arms and rods
position,
on the drop knuckle or the roll center knuckle,
Right.
they've been dropped down. So what this does is on a lowered car where all the arms and rods, whether it's the tie rod, the control arms, they're up towards the outside.
Yeah.
The drop knuckle drops all of those points down.
Okay.
So roll center is the suspension geometry in regards to all the arms and rods. Bump steer, we're only talking about the tie rod. I just discussed how if you slam your car, you're probably going to want to drop down your outer tie rod joint until you observe no toe change through travel. There's other aspects of the car with all the other arms and rods where you've kind of like ruined your car's suspension geometry by lowering it, and you can restore that geometry that was built into the car by getting drop knuckles, which drops down the outer joints, which are all pointing like up in the air if you slammed your car. So if we circle back around to the Formula D car,
Yeah.
and the thing that was confusing about Chris Forsberg's Z34 rear toe rod in the dynamic toe control plate on the upper hole,
Yes.
we just discussed that you would probably drop down the outer joint. The thing is, the highest drift cars out there are Formula D cars. If you put a drop knuckle on a Formula D car where the subframe is, the subframe's up pretty high compared to like a lowered street car, and then you put a drop knuckle on it, now that outer joint is kind of like going down.
Oh, so
Running a
that's
drop knuckle on the
why-
car, and it's a high car. So drop knuckles are generally for fixing the geometry on a slammed car.
Right.
So now you have a really high car on the racetrack,
Yeah.
and that's why his dynamic toe control,
Okay.
trying to
Now
level out that arm, is going to now be in the top hole.
Now I get it.
That's why it's confusing.
Yeah,
So if you look at the S chassis dynamic toe control plates on Instagram at hashtag RKNUCLB, And then you look at, what's the hashtag for the Z33, Z34?
Or it's Z33 Arcan and UCLB.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, if you find that photo of Chris Forsberg's car, it's a different shape plate. It's a different car. Has a different requirement of like those holes.
And I think if anyone is interested about like the dynamic toe change, check the C6 RLCA.
Oh, yeah.
I
So
think that video is pretty interesting to me. And
yeah, so this process
very
that I was
clear.
describing where you're sightlining down the rim lip,
right.
similarly, you can just take the wheel off and you can sightline down the brake rotor. So that's exactly what we did in Matt Field's demonstration on his Pro Drift C6
C6,
Corvette.
yes.
Is we took the wheel off because the wheel is massive. If the wheel was on the back of that car and the tires are so wide, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It blocks the entire suspension. So if you take the wheel and tire off and now you're just kind of focusing on this angle change as demonstrated by being in the back of the car, sightlining down that brake rotor, now you can see the entire suspension in action.
Right.
So yeah, that's a beautiful video. And I kind of did some fast motion in there so that you can really see it just waving back and forth, doing toe out, 0, toe in, and yeah, perfect video. So C6 RKNUCLB on the hashtag on Instagram. Great video.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
No problem. After I edited this podcast episode, I started to reflect back on our agenda when we were building a Pro Drift S14 for Matt Field. We were fixing that issue that the S chassis came with, where it has toe out from the factory on compression. I think that this must be a very significant thing that's related to the origins of drifting itself when the sport was invented in Japan. They have a low power car. The fact that you can get on the gas, let that car squat, and it actually has built-in oversteer due to toe out upon compression. This is the whole reason why that car was a great drift machine back in Japan at the beginning of the sport. So while we needed to fix that for Formula Drift, it's actually very significant that you're able to drift that car bone stock. And that's what they did. And that's why we had this sport today to enjoy.